All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim. I am from Tamarix Law, and thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to actually have you guys. And yeah, I think I'm very impressed with the fact that you guys joined on time. This is actually a very important webinar. And I'm going to be introducing and explaining what the webinar is. I'm also going to be introducing our hosts as well as our guests. And after that, we'll get right into the webinar. So this webinar is basically for us to be able to explore different job opportunities and career options outside of the courtroom. So this is mostly for young fresh graduates. It's also for um, young lawyers. But then again, in as much as that is what these are the group of people that we are focusing on, we are actually also open to our fellow colleagues and older lawyers who would like to pivot because they may not want to just practice litigation anymore. So basically, this particular webinar is to open our minds to possibilities. And so I'm going to encourage every one of us to actually be very open-minded, ask as many questions as possible, let us interact, let us engage so that we can actually get our answers here and hopefully leave this particular webinar with better ideas, better visions for our career, and with a lot of progress. And I'm actually expecting that because this is a quarterly webinar, I'm expecting that in our next webinar, which will be at the end of the second quarter of this year, that we're going to come back with a lot of testimonies, with good news, and the rest. And with that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Tem Janet, Tem Larry Jane Gapsiso. I am the managing partner for Tamarix Law, which is organizing this event. And I am joined by my partner, Nkasike Bana. I would like her to introduce herself before we move on to our host.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Nkasike Gbana Abu. I'm a beauty and health lawyer. I'm currently based in Abuja, Nigeria. I am founding partner of Tamarix Law and also the head of the health law section of the law firm. I'm super excited to have everyone here. This is a dream come true to have young people here to talk about law outside the courtroom. Super excited, and I really hope that you leave with so much insight that would aid in your career journey. Thank you so much, Tem.
Thank you very much. And next, we're going to be introducing our beautiful guest. She's a lawyer, just like many of us on this call, or like many of us hope to be on this call. And she's going to be exposing and enlarging our minds as to the possibilities that we can explore outside of the courtroom. Her name is Patsy Mokungah, and she's very passionate, very result-driven. She has a very strong background in corporate compliance, dispute resolution, and policy drafting. She's a graduate of Afe Babalola University and a member of the Nigerian Bar Association. She has built her career on finding practical and innovative legal solutions beyond the traditional courtroom setting. And she's currently serving as the legal and compliance manager at SimLab Nigeria Limited. Now, Patty has worked extensively in contract negotiations, risk management, and corporate governance. Her experience spans alternative dispute resolution, corporate governance, and legal risk assessment. Now, Patsy is very passionate about helping lawyers see that there is more to a legal career than just litigation. She believes that lawyers can make a real impact by stepping into roles that blend law, business, and strategy, whether it's in compliance, whether it's risk management, or dispute resolution. And so far, through her work, she hopes to inspire others and to think beyond the courtroom and explore new and fulfilling ways to use their legal skills to solve real-world problems. And with that, I would like to welcome Patsy. Patsy, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank
Welcome,
you so
welcome.
much, Janet. Thank you for having me. I'm pleased, I'm excited, I'm very happy to be here. Well, by way of introductions, you've already introduced me, so I don't have to go over that. My name is Patsy, and well, I'm here because I'm a lawyer. I'm currently the legal and compliance manager at SimLab Nigeria. I do enjoy my job. Right off the bat, I would, just starting. I think I would like to start on the fact that, I wish sometime in my law career, I wished that I could have somebody to blame for studying law. I wished that I could say my parents forced me. And so that there would be somebody I would be able to pin this problem on, the fact that I found myself in this career that I did not like. But I couldn't say that. And while I was not forced to study law, I can, wholeheartedly say that I was significantly influenced to do so. Influenced by family, friends, and the society at large. I don't think it's out of place to say that we all know that law is perceived to be a prestigious course. It's a prestigious career. When you go out, and even up till today, I know that when I go out and I tell people, oh, I'm a lawyer, you can see them fiscally, change. They're like, oh, you're a lawyer. So there was that about it. And there was also the fact that whenever I told my family members that, when I was going through my options, and I did think about a lot of options, when I told them that maybe I should consider studying English literature, you see their face like, okay, if that's what you want, we'll support you. But when I say, maybe I should consider law, they'll be like, yes, that's good. That's a good option. When people react like that, you can tell from their body language what is the preferred option, right? So I did go for what all of these things came to influence me to go for law. But around 300, 400 level was when I really began to hear other law students, classmates of mine, begin to say that they're not really sure they like law. And in my mind, I was like, it took you people 3 years. Like 100 level, we did legal method. And I was like, oh my God, I've made a mistake. Like, but in 100 level, I was a bit like, maybe it's not that bad. But 200 level, they introduced me to case law. And I was sure that, yeah, this is over. It's quite over. Like, this cannot be my life. By 300 level, 400 level, it was really getting worse, right? And I can tell you that the only reason why I did not consider switching to another course or I did not drop out was because it was too late for any of those options. I had to finish school. I could not explain to my parents that I was going to drop out. And because of that, it was kind of tough. Right now, where I am in my career, I wish I could sit down here and have some aspire to perspire speech and tell you that at the beginning of my career, I had it all planned out. I knew what I wanted. I knew where I wanted to go. I was going to work here. And there are some people that have their lives planned out like that. I did not know anything, right? But I knew what I did not want. That was all that I was running with. For like the first 5 years of my career, all I was running with was I knew what I did not want. And what I didn't want was litigation. I said it so much that my family members, my friends, they start echoing it for me. Like I will start a sentence before I finish. They'll be like, yes, we know you do not want litigation. I made it very clear. Why I was even doing that was more so because I had already made up my mind that when I was done with law school, I was going to, leave law and do something else in my life. Since I did not want to be in the courtroom, my only option was to leave the career. And I didn't want to get to, finishing law school. And then my family will still have this expectation that I'll wear wig and gown. So I was prepping their minds like, I'm going to leave. And I always knew from when I was probably in secondary school, university, that I wanted to have a business. I wanted to run a business. I want this thing called entrepreneurship. I was interested in it. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to do that. When I graduated, there were a lot of things that were not nice sounding about law. If you've graduated from law school, I think they must have told you like that your first 5 years in the profession, you should not expect anything. You should not expect money. You should still be supported by your family because they will not pay you well when you enter a law firm or something. I would be very surprised if you've not heard that. And then they'll talk about certain things. I wanted wild things for my life, not wild things, but I'm a creative. Do you understand? When I was in university, I like to do hair, I like to do makeup, I like organizing events, I liked public speaking. I liked all of these things. And well, where was I going to find all of these things inside law? That was why I thought my only option was like, you know what, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah.
And then you now hear that when you're done with school, they're going to be paying you peanuts. It was like,
So I actually like to ask
it's
a
getting
question.
worse. Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to ask, did that make you want to get like another job before going into law itself?
There was my original plan was to not do law at all. I was quite sure that I was so sure that I used to tell people that if you meet me practicing law 10 years from now, just know before you ask me that I'm unhappy. Like I used to say that. And
So what
by
job
that
did you
I actually
get?
meant litigation.
What was your first job after law school?
My first job, and that's the thing I ran with, and the first thing I want anybody on this webinar to take away from this, if you don't take away anything in life, they tell you in many aspects, know what you want, right? And yes, know what you want. But if you cannot even lay hands on what you want, make sure you lay hands on what you don't want, because that was all I was running with, what I did not want. So I was not giving room to the option of litigation in my life. Do you understand? I did not know what options were open to me, but it was like, there has to be something else that is not litigation. Y'all are going to let me become a makeup artist, a professional makeup artist before I do this. I will open a fashion school before I do this. So when I was doing my NYSC counts as job experience. Fresh out of camp, I had already made it very clear, shouting it to my family and everybody, that I did not want to go and work in a law firm, and this opportunity just opened up, where they came to the camp. Somebody who knew my brother was coming to the camp, and she told him that they were looking for a lawyer to work with them. And it was very unexpectedly in the military, right? And they needed somebody to come in there to help do. And see, I didn't want to hear anything. As far as it was not courtroom, I was just like, bring it. And they were like, military is very hard. It's going to, the atmosphere, the surrounding, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just really tough. You're working with soldiers. I said, bring it, and that was where the first time that my eyes got open to the fact that, oh, there's a possibility, there are jobs you could have as a lawyer that did not require you to go to court. So I worked as a paramilitary staff for the entire of my legal career, for the entire of my NYSC year. Yes. And I did a lot of things without going to court. I educated them on laws, because, military law is very different from civil law. So what you're hearing as a civilian is very different from what they were telling. And because these people, they were an outfit because of the insurgency in the north. They were an outfit that had to work, with civilians in Jos there. And so I had to be there to educate them on how to, how to deal with civilians, what laws, human rights. I had to teach these people basic human rights so that they won't be on the road killing human beings. Small thing, they won't bring out gun, And then I had to also do a lot of alternative dispute resolution while I was there, because soldiers do get into a lot of trouble with civilians, be it marital issues. Some of them had kids out of wedlock, that needed, that women will come to claim that somebody was the father of their child, somebody impregnated their daughter, and all of this, they needed legal backing. I also read a lot of contracts. So there was a lot of, I wasn't bored. I wasn't without work, but I didn't go to court once. They had external lawyers who handled their court cases. So once or twice I went to just sit in and watch, but I did not appear in court. However, because of how heavy litigation is in the Nigerian sector, right? By the time I came out of NYC and I wanted to start building my career, the only option open to me was litigation. So I actually did work in a law firm for a short period
Okay.
of time. It was very short,
When you say
right?
short, like
And
how many months?
it was just about 3 months.
Wow.
Another thing
Did you
that
leave or
what
did they kick you out?
I left. I left, and this is why it's very important to kind of know what you don't want to do, because
Yes.
I left and I was good at it. I was good at litigation. You know, the cases I managed, the briefs I wrote, even up until 2 years after I had left, my head of chamber was still calling me to be like, he was calling. I remember I was in a dumping box in Lagos when he called me to say that the last brief I wrote for him was so good. And he was like, what are you doing right now? And I said, I've left litigation. No, I'm in corporate commercial law. And he was like, you are wasting your life. You know how to do this thing. And in my mind, I was like, so the fact is that the mere fact that I could do it didn't mean that I wanted to. And I'm very happy that I stuck to my guns, because I wouldn't be here. And I wish I could tell you that it was a lawyer that helped me know that there was room for a legal career outside of litigation. And I spoke to a lot of lawyers. Nobody gave me help. Nobody told me like, oh, you could do this option, you could work at this place. No, everybody kept on telling me. It's almost when I say that I don't want to work in a law firm, they'll look at me like, this one is not serious with her life. I genuinely felt like I was not serious with my life.
Okay, but
I was
based on that,
sticking to my
sorry, let me drag you back a bit, but from what you said about your NYSC law school and basically uni, I would actually like to hear from Sike. What's your perspective, or should I say, what was your own experience with what was your story based on how you got to where you are now, like that NYSC stage? How were you able to navigate it? Because that's when you're coming in, you finally become a lawyer, right? So how exactly did you make that decision, and most importantly, stand on it?
So my story is a bit different from Patsy's, similar but different. During NYC, I served at actually, funny enough, I also served at a paramilitary outfit. So it was NAPTIP, which is law enforcement-ish, just law enforcement adjacent, because they have the power to arrest, to prosecute, represent on behalf of the state. But just taking it a bit back, I discovered that I didn't want to be in litigation in 300 level. It's funny that Patsy realized earlier, because we were all classmates. Actually, 100 level, actually, what was that thing called? Orientation. I remember we had a meeting with provost. So we all went to, 3 of us went to Afe Babalola University. So that's why I'm speaking as though they know what I'm talking about. I had a meeting with provost. Well, I think it was our first law class or something like that. And so she was speaking, this law is this, law is that. And when she finished, I said, I don't think this is what I want to do here, because this thing that people are saying is not aligning with my passions. I remember calling my parents and telling, I think it was my mom. I called my mom and I told her, I don't think I want to study law, because today we went and the woman said things, and I don't think this is what I want to do with my life. I was 15 years old, and my mom said, I'm sorry, we've already paid school fees. You must study this law, because the school fees for law is different from the school fees for other courses. So it's like, sorry, we've already made this payment. You're muted, Tim. I can't hear you.
Sorry, let me interrupt you there, but how did you, before you finish your answer, how did you navigate when you were met with people that wanted to study law but didn't get into law? And then did you experience any sort of guilt when you're like, I want to leave law, but this person is willing to go back and like start from 100 level again just to get law? How did you feel?
I'm not sure I really thought about it. It really, I just felt like, oh, okay, I'm studying law. I guess I'm smart enough to study law, because during the interview stage, when we resumed ABWAD, there was an interview that happens right before that day that you resume. And I remember Barrister Jiboye, after interviewing me, said he doesn't think I want to study law, that maybe I should go and study another course. I said, sir, my father brought me to school to study law. What will I go and tell him? This man is outside in the car. What am I going to go and tell him that I came for interview and I didn't pass? And I mean, I knew several people actually, now that I think about it, a very close friend of mine wanted to study law and didn't get in. But at the time, I wasn't really thinking about it. But I know that, in life, I knew people who wanted to study law and didn't get it, but they seemed happier outside of law. Like, they were very fine. The reason why they seemed happier is because we have to wear black and white. They don't have to. Like, standard. So it was like they were living a chill life, and now I'm the one who is in bondage. That was kind of like what it felt like. I remember feeling that. That was definitely a feeling of mine. So anyways, sorry?
So it wasn't guilt to experiences, and you felt like you were the unlucky one.
Yes, because during orientation, I wore light blue trousers for one of the meetings we had in multipurpose hall. And I remember Professor Smaranda calling me and saying, "What course am I studying?" I said, "Law." She said, "I cannot be studying law. This trouser I'm wearing, I cannot be a law student."
Let me add a story there. My own case was I had red hair and it was a fringe. I will never forget. That was my matric hair. I was very excited to fix that particular style of hair for matric. And I remember during the matriculation, my dad asked me if I could see through my hair, and I was like, "Yes, I can see." "What do you mean?" You get? I was very defensive. Only for me to go to class the very next day. Well, I think the very next class day, basically, and it was smart that I was in class. And not only did she kick me out, she made me pay a fine because of my red hair. And the only thing in my head was, if I was in another department, this wouldn't have happened.
Do you understand? So these were the issues. These were the issues. These were the little things that made me feel like maybe I'm in the wrong place. In 100 level, I painted every single fingernail a different color. Like, that's the person that I was. That was who I am. That was who I was, rather. It's not really my style.
Cool. I resumed 100 level with purple hair, guys.
Purple.
Like, we were. Yeah, it was purple. It wasn't just purple. It was purple, and I don't know if anybody here remembers watermelon. That it was like pick and drop but curled. So I had a thing for huge hair. If you look back at my university pictures, you will see that in university I could never imagine doing something like this. Like, my hair always had to be big, so it was big. And I realized later on, like 300, 400 level, that people knew me as the girl with purple hair, because that was how serious it was. And that was the person I was. Purple hair, big earrings. My clothes were always splashes of color. And then we came into university, and they're like, black and white only. You can't, you must wear pin earrings. Your hair must always be packed up. I was like, it was happening in waves. Like, what have I done with my life?
The reason why I just want to reiterate, the reason why we're kind of going through these stories is so that people relate with the struggle, and people understand that. I don't know if it's that strict anymore, and probably a lot of people here in public universities.
Not strict in other universities, yeah.
Well, you know what? I would like us to put in the comment section what our experiences were, and like on a scale of 1 to 10, write the number of how strict your uni was.
Or age, because we have a huge number of law students who are still here. Right. So we started somewhere. There was a question you asked me about NYSC. Yes. NYSC. So so I served at NAPTIP, which is the National Agency for Protection of Trafficking in Persons, right? And funny enough, for my long essay, for my project, I researched domestic violence against women in Nigeria, and NAPTIP, at the time, the VAP Act just came out, and NAPTIP is in charge of administering the VAP Act. So it was very exciting for me. I've always been a human rights person, always been. It's always been, since when I knew that there was a course called human rights, my ears were up. From 200 level, I remember, I told my dad I want to be a human rights lawyer. And he said, there's no money there. I said, okay, me, this is the one that is sinking into me. Like at first I didn't even want to study law, and now I found something in law that I want to do. And my dad was like, there's no money in that one. I can never forget. So when I came out and I was working at NAPTIP, it was a great experience. But I learned many things. The first was I hate the way the Nigerian criminal system works. The second was that I was too emotional to be involved in criminal prosecution, because we're dealing with rape cases, we're dealing with child trafficking cases. I'm trying to apply for a rape kit for a patient, and it's taking 2 months for approval. Like, this person was raped in January, and like, how exactly is that? Do you understand? It's completely useless. That's my point. And I was like, I can't do this. Literally, I thought that human rights was where I was meant to be, but NYSC showed me that I really I couldn't survive, in the sense that I was too emotionally invested. Every rape case, I'm deep in my emotions. Every, cases of child molestation, so many things that we were faced with. And so for me, that showed me that, okay, yes, maybe human rights, but in a different way is what I need to look at, is what I need to address. And I had taken health law as an elective in 400 or 500. And I found it really intriguing, talking about, because that's a good career path that people don't really recognize. I never saw myself as a lecturer. In fact, I was so unserious in school that I remember in 2021 when I met some of my classmates and they said, what are you doing? I said, I'm a lecturer. Like, I could see visible shock on their face, because they never imagined that I would lecture. But I've always loved teaching. I've always loved educating about anything that I'm passionate about. So it's kind of just made sense in that time. And then when I decided to pursue a master's, I found out that, I could do a health law master's in Nigeria, and that drove my passion. And then I got a job in a hospital. So it drove me towards the path. I had always, even when I was lecturing, I wanted to lecture health law. I remember when they were pitching electives in the council, I wanted to pitch health law, but I felt like my knowledge was too rudimentary at the time. Like, all I had was my LLB knowledge, which I felt like I needed to add more to that before I can lecture properly. And that's why I chose to do a master's in health law, and the rest, as they say, is history. Here we are now. But yeah, so that's kind of that for me. That's like my path, the path that law has taken me through. And with my 9 to 5, in the sense of the hospital, I go to court, but barely. But I know that I don't like litigation. I sang it enough. My dad is a lawyer, maybe 30 years at the bar. Maybe more than 30 years at the bar now that I think.
Actually.
Right. And I sang it so much that my dad never pressured me to go into litigation. He has a law firm. He has friends that with a phone call, I'm sitting down somewhere with wig and gown. But I sang it so much and I rang it so much. I don't know. I'm grateful to God, I guess, that there was no pressure, that he never stressed about me going to court. He never said, oh, come and work in my firm, you must go to court. So for that, I am grateful. I have had a soft landing in that way. But yeah, that's my story.
That's actually very wonderful. You're actually very fortunate and privileged. So back to our guest, Patsy. I would like to know how short was the journey from being like a copper in that kind of environment and seeing other options, or let me say, how short was the journey from practicing for that 3 months period to where you are now? Was there any conflict in between, or you were like, nope, straight ahead?
I was very much like, no, straight ahead. Mm-mm. Because when I left that law firm, okay, so when I left that law firm, I was praying, and I was determined. And I remember, because it was too much for me. I can have physical reactions to things I don't like. I did not like it. And I think another thing was that I on whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I got into a law firm that was very serious. You get, it was a top law firm, so they had a lot of work. They were a serious law firm. Apart from the fact that general, I didn't like litigation, reading through case files, writing, boring briefs was not for me. There was also the fact that, I don't know if you have heard this before, but if you're a lawyer, you should have heard that the law is a jealous wife. So basically, they'll tell you, and they are referring to litigation, that if you're going to do litigation, you should not expect to have time to do anything else with your life if you're working in a serious law firm. And it's true. If you enter, I remember myself and Sike did an internship at one law firm, Didi Dogo. Then,
Yeah.
and we were supposed to resume the office, was it 7:30? And we closed by 5, thereabouts.
And we were undergraduates.
And we were interns.
We
The
not
law
doing anything.
left after us, right? I remember one day asking one of the lawyers, like, you guys are here, there are so many benefits, you make a lot of money, but when do you spend this money? Because it seems like you're making this money to hang it in an account somewhere. So when I graduated, after NYSC, the law firm I got into was something like that. They, of course, there are rules in any organization, but there are also unspoken rules that we can, quote unquote, call culture. The culture of this firm was such that it was almost taboo. They treated it like it was a taboo, frankly, to leave the office while it was still bright outside, because it showed that you were not working. Right? So there were days I got home 10 p.m. 11, I was jumping bike at Beggar to my house. There was no breathing space. I remember this day, and I've told the story many times, that I was sitting down because I was a junior lawyer, of course. And some of the lawyers before me, they were handling a brief. The SAN that owned the law firm came in that morning. It was a Monday morning, and he was like, they have not made progress on this case since Friday. They left it, and when they say no progress on this case since Friday, best believe that they are talking like Friday, like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. There were people who slept overnight in the law firm. This was regular occurrence. In the short time I was there, we used to banter about how we used to tell the senior lawyers that we knew them better than their wives did, because we spent more time with them, right? So bright and early Monday morning, he's like, what happened? We've not made progress on this case. I can't see the documentation that I'm expecting to see. And the lawyer just stood there and he was like, sorry, sir, I've not been able to do anything new. And, immediately the man went, so what were you doing with your weekend? And in my mind, I'm like, sir, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean, what was he doing with his weekend? He's a married man. He has a family and a young child. Like, living life, maybe. Going to a party, sleeping. What did you expect? And that was regular for them. They worked 9 to 5, then you'll be in the office on Saturday. You'd also be in the office on Sunday, right? And I was like, this is not the life for me. This is not the life for me. People, I had a friend who was also one of our colleagues from university who still works in the same law firm, and he enjoyed litigation, like that grueling work. He enjoyed it, but I was running mad. And I mean this quite literally. I was losing my mind because I was like, this cannot be my life. This is not where my life is going. So by the time I got my next job, it was also for a law firm, but a law firm that focused on corporate law. Do you understand? because I went in there, and this is another thing I'd like to see in this life, in your career. Please, by all means, while you should be a flexible person, have the audacity to ask for what you want, right? While you're putting your leg in the door. Because I went for that interview and I stated it. What do you like to do? I'm a lawyer. I'm qualified. In the interview, I made it very clear that I was here to do corporate law. I'm not doing anything that is not corporate law. I will not enter court. Litigation is not for me. He said, okay, they will put me inside corporate law department. That was how I entered corporate law department. And from there, I started working where I am working right now. So it was pretty, almost even straightforward. You know, I'm standing here looking back saying it was straightforward, but the process, this is a process that took years, right? So I also had to go through a process, but most of it was majorly because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how to get to where I was going. I just knew that I was in a forest and I was going to hack my way to the other end. When I was in secondary school, long before people knew what remote work was, I used to have this fantasy that one day I'd be a mom and I would have a job that allowed me so much flexibility. I would be able to work from home. I'd never heard of remote work in my life. It was just a pipe dream that I had. I was fantasizing. And those fantasies, that was probably why I wanted to be a business owner very young, because I was like, I need to build this life of flexibility that I want. Right? So I went in there and I asked for that I was going to do corporate commercial law. So after that job, I began to talk again. I was talking to lawyers. I would say, me, I don't want to do litigation. They will look at me like, this one is not serious with her life. She doesn't know where she's going. And interestingly enough, the person that helped me find my path to where I am currently was not a lawyer. Was a person in the tech space who I had cried to severally about, oh, I don't want to do this. And the person is like, okay, have you considered tech law? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you can work for a tech company, right? They need lawyers. And our lawyers make good money. You can apply to work for a tech company. And I'm like, I don't know the first thing about tech law. And he's like, okay, go and learn it. Which is another thing I've learned in my career. You know, I can do it. Even if I don't know it, I will learn it after the fact.
Yeah. Sorry, Sike has a question, I think. Maybe based on what you just said.
Okay. Yeah, it's not necessarily a question, but it's something that you just said. And I know a lot of people, when we ask the question, what do you hope to gain from this? Patsy has said a lot, and I hope people are jotting things down. I can see people dropping in the comments. But something important to realize is that every single industry needs lawyers. It's so important. The moment you come to that realization, you realize that there are boundless opportunities. Every single industry needs lawyers because law regulates our lives, and every industry exists in our lives, right? So it's like we started talking about tech law, and it's so, I mean, it's trendy now, but literally abroad, especially like in more developed countries, there are law firms that only focus on construction. You will not find them doing anything in this world. Construction law, the way that you people are putting the building together, that's all that they do. I remember when, I know I'm interrupting Patsy, but I just really wanted to share this. I don't know if you guys remember one of our classmates that did his research, his LLB on sports law.
Yes.
Sam G.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first time in my life I had ever, like, this is 500 level. Why? Because he loves football. He loves FIFA. And the FIFA is regulated by a set of laws. UEFA is regulated by a set of laws, AFCON and all the things, Every single industry has laws. You could be a food business lawyer. I don't know. Like there is just
Yeah,
there is
I guess
always
that
a
statement was
need.
true when that they said in class. They used to say a lot when we were in school, both uni and law school, that if you're a lawyer, you can work anywhere. So this is one
Yes.
of the few times that when you hear a statement like that, it doesn't mean that your course is useless. It's actually literally very true. As long as you're open-minded and you're willing to learn,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that's one thing I picked from what Patsy said just very shortly. She was like, when she cried to the particular person, the person told her, go and learn it. So yes, everything is learnable as long as you are open-minded and you are serious enough. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I guess this brings me to back to Patsy. We would like to know, now that we know that there are many opportunities, but can you give us in very specific terms what are these different paths that someone can take? So
Okay.
basically, what are the options in front of us apart from
Okay.
in-house and litigation?
So the first thing that I would like you to realize as a lawyer, and this is that you don't even know, is that I find a lot of lawyers don't know this, don't realize this, and it's very important to realize that law as a course. I love what Sike said because I was going to get there. Law as a course on its own gives you a lot of soft skills, not just soft skills, transferable soft skills. I need you to wake up to this. Do you get? Because once you're graduating from law, you already have good writing skills because we know how to tell a story because of the way we are required to answer questions in our exams, right? You know how that you would find when you interact with a lot of people outside after law school, you will find that a lot of people don't know how to do basic things, how to write a passage or an article or whatever it is, and know that there should be an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. That is a skill that you already have, right? In answering our questions, we use IRAC to answer our questions, right? Um, I hope that I'm saying things that people can relate with. That already teaches you basic drafting skills. Do you understand? So you have the skill of writing, you have research skills because researching case law would have taught you by the time you are done with your project, you already have research skills. You know not just how to research, but how to what do you call it? Reference. You have good referencing skills. You have basic drafting skills. Law gives you public speaking skills because as a lawyer, you need to know how to speak publicly, right? Law equips you with practical. You already have practical thinking, analytical thinking skills because you are taught to argue a matter, to find the loophole, argue on both sides. You already have analytical thinking skills that other people don't have. Law requires communication skills of you, right? You already have negotiation skills. Negotiation skills already puts you within the in the room of marketers. You don't even know how much. You already have good information management skills, right? You already have professionalism and ethics skills. Because if you went to a university like ours that made you wear black and white throughout, right? Made you put your hair in a particular way. You must speak a particular way. You must come to class at a particular time. As a lawyer, you must not be this, you must not be that. You already have really good professionalism skills that you don't even know you have. And all of these skills are transferable. You can transfer them from one aspect of, you can transfer them from law straight directly into another career. You can transfer them and then you can take one of these skills and build a whole legal career around it. Take, for instance, researching. As a lawyer, you have the opportunity to become a legal researcher. Now, this is under the umbrella of academia. Sike already spoke about how she was a lecturer. That's one option you can look into. If you like teaching, you don't have to go and enter court first before you come out and just go straight for academics. Start by writing. You have good research skills. Research, write papers, write. A lot of people are looking, people like me who work in the corporate world We're looking for papers to read. People, if you could squeeze a lot of legal information, all that research into one well-written paper, and I know that I can just read on this one paper and it's going to give me an idea of, everything I need to know about this particular subject, you've done great work. So you can actually start things. You can start a website that is dedicated to just legal research, legal writing. I have an email list that I follow, whereby they give periodic updates on just, legal terms, things that are happening in the society, in law. That is actually, a career path that you can forge for yourself. You can write and publish papers. So in academics alone, you could be a lecturer, you could be a legal researcher. People are looking for legal researchers. So you can choose to just write, right? Of course, we've talked about working in-house. And working in-house in Nigeria, you can work for a lot of companies. You can work for health companies like I do. You can work for tech companies. You can work in the agricultural sector. You can work in the beauty and cosmetic industry. You can work in pharmaceutical companies. You can work in banks. You can work in multinational organizations. The list, my brethren, is endless. Like, as an in-house lawyer, you can do so much. And it also gives you the opportunity to scale up your career. It's not like, oh, yeah, I need if I become an in-house lawyer, I can't grow. You can grow all the way to becoming an actual company secretary. And company secretary is not a small role. It's not a lowly paid role either. They make big money. They're very qualified. They're very respected. And that can put you in the C-suite of a company. And if you know what C-suite is upper management, CEO, the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, chief commercial officer, company secretary, that's C-suite. So you could be a top earner in a top company as a lawyer practicing law, because every company needs somebody who is going to be there, regulating what they've done. Which brings me to another opportunity you have as a lawyer. You can actually work in compliance and regulation. You're not necessarily working as a company secretary. You're not doing necessarily the legal part of law, but you're in the compliance part, because there are a lot of for almost every sector. There are laws that regulate them. Laws will mean that there are probably bodies that are created to regulate them, right? And you must make sure that every company must make sure that they are complying with this regulation so that they don't get into trouble. Enter compliance. So you could actually just be a compliance officer. You could just enter compliance and regulatory affairs. So you are helping companies ensure that they are complying with local laws, international laws, which is like currently you'll find that in a lot of companies, these are merged, legal and compliance roles. I am a legal and compliance officer currently. That's what I do in-house, right? There's also you could become an intellectual properties lawyer. And this does not mean that you are going to court. Intellectual property is very, very wide, and it's a growing field in Nigeria. Why? Because it's a growing field in industries like the media industry, whereby a lot of people are having movies coming out. And in movies, you have the writers, you have the director. So you have the person that, wrote the script, the person that actually directed the movie, and people own different parts of the intellectual property. You can be behind that. In the music industry, people, they need IP lawyers. Right now, we're in the world of social media, where there's a lot of agreements that go on between content creators, influencers, and social media partners, companies that want them to influence for them, right? And somebody who creates a content can, to what extent does that content is that content their intellectual property? So there is a big space. It is growing in the world of intellectual property. And if you are thinking like, but all these places, do they make money? My answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. If you especially in the media industry, in the entertainment industry, for movies, for songs, if you think about how much these people make, right? And think about how much you could make as the lawyer if you were the one closing those deals behind, but behind closed doors. And that you are just fine-tuning yourself, researching one aspect of law and working on it. As I began to continue in my career, I found out that it is also possible for you to work in the government sector. Every single, when you are passing all those houses, what they call them now, in Lagos, all secretariats. When you go to the secretariat and you see the different sections for different governments, somebody help me, Sike. You know what I'm talking about.
The agency? You mean the different
Yes, the
parastatal
different government
agencies?
parastatals, yes. So
Yes.
all of those parastatals actually have lawyers who work for them.
Entire
Right?
legal units and teams.
Yes, they have entire legal team. And trust me, one, the pay is quite okay. In fact, as you grow up the ladder, it gets good. And two, the working conditions are quite flexible. I know people who have and are working with government agencies, and because of how flexible it is, they are able to have full-fledged side hustles, right? They have two businesses running alongside, they have things going on, and they still are working as lawyers because they are doing legislative drafting, they're doing policy making, they're doing all of these things you get that entail lawmaking. So you can also work with regulatory agencies. I talked about being a compliance manager and the fact that you can work with companies to help them stay where they should be with regulatory agencies. You can now work with the regulatory agency itself. What does that mean? It means that you can choose to work with Access Bank as their legal and compliance manager. You could either choose to work in their legal department, or you could choose to work in their compliance department, or you can just tell Access Bank, you know what, I want to work with your mother, and decide that I'm working with CBN. You can aspire to work with CBN. You can aspire to work with Sike. You can aspire to work with EFCC as a lawyer. You can aspire to work with NAFDAC as a lawyer. And the list goes on and on, right? Are you following? So these are so many options that you have, and none of these include entering courtroom. So you can work in the tech sector and with legal innovation. All these tech companies that keep sprouting out, you keep hearing that tech bros, there's money in tech everywhere. If you live in Lagos like I do, we all know that the tech hub is Yaba. You see them in their casual attire, working from home, enjoying. You could be their lawyer, their company lawyer. They need you because, like I said, they need to comply with laws and they need to comply with regulatory bodies. Right? So you could work in the tech sector. A lawyer that really, really helped me, and I probably will shout her out. She doesn't know me at all. I would shout her out because she helped me also see the possibility of law outside the courtrooms is Mo Mochivious. I've forgotten her full name on Twitter. She owns a tech company, Vazi Legal, right? And they focus on tech and tech alone. You can actually just focus on something like that. You can enter legal tech. You can work as an AI lawyer. We all know how fast AI is running. I know somebody who works with a company that is currently using AI. They pay him in dollars and he's working here in Nigeria. That's good money and it's good experience too. You can work as a with data protection and cybersecurity law. This is still under tech, right? There's a lot. Data protection is huge. It is huge in law everywhere because now we're all on the internet. Everybody is online, right? And we're all doing things. We're all opening email addresses, signing up to apps. Data protection is very, very important. It's very, very vast. And one single data protection breach can have you in court for years, like 10 years, maybe more. It could be 20 years, right? And because of that, people need lawyers to help them not get to that point. So there's a whole world in data protection and cybersecurity law that you could go into. There's also blockchain and fintech law.
Sorry, Patsy.
Yeah.
Sike has raised her hand. I think she wants to ask a question based on what you just said.
Okay, Sike.
It's not a question, but yeah, we're going to move on to the next point shortly, Patsy. But there's something you said about data protection. There was recently a court judgment against, I believe it was Domino's, the company that owns Domino's in Nigeria, where someone got, I think, about 3 million naira because Domino's was sending them incessant text messages. So they had never, is it that they had never given them their phone number or something, or they did give them and then they kept on sending messages. So the person called and said, like, I want to opt out. And they were quiet for a while and then they continued sending the text messages. And the person went to court and got like 3M. Again, lawyers, right? You were talking about data protection, and that's why I wanted to raise that. I'm sure that that person, like, that's a field, again, that people don't really look at. And we could just keep on going on and on. We have a classmate that is thriving in immigration law, Pamela. I think there's this International Immigration Lawyers Forum, and she went to the UK, she has gone to the US for conferences. I said I never even considered immigration law. Like, again, adding to what you're saying, that there are just so many fields, and if we continue to speak, we'll go on and on. So I would love you to summarize, then we can move on to your next slide.
Okay, so thank you. She has mentioned immigration and international law. You could work with immigration companies. We have a lot of immigration companies. It's a world of its own. Real estate and property law, we all know this. A lot of litigation lawyers do this on the side in Nigeria. But given how real estate is picking up in a lot of places in Nigeria, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, all these hubs, right? You can actually focus on just being the person that does these land deals. You can decide to focus on land search, right? Whereby your expertise, everybody knows that if they come to you to facilitate the buying of a land, they are going to get it right. We've also mentioned entertainment and sports law. There's money in sports, and there are great opportunities in sports. Also, I've talked about entertainment on the side as I was getting here. So that's also an option. You can work with entertainment companies, you can work with sports companies, sports recruiters. People often come into Nigeria to recruit a lot of young talent. They need contracts to facilitate these things. There are laws that govern these things. You can be the person who helps in that process. There's also human rights and non-profit work. You can work with NGOs, and people think that, like Sike that told that, like, there's no money there. But actually, I mean, everything is not for money. It could be self-fulfilling work, but also there's money there, guys. There's money. So you can also do that. You can work with environmental companies. You work with environmental law, because right now everybody wants to go green and help the planet. You can actually be the person who helps them to know what laws they can do, what laws they have to stay within to help keep them safe. And so with all of these things, there are different aspects, and trust me, you feel like, if you don't feel like they're too far-fetched. Before I started working in the company that I worked in, honestly, it wasn't open to me that there was a whole world of just testing, because I work in a laboratory, a multinational laboratory, right? I didn't even know that was like, oh, the world of laboratory science was that big, but apparently it's that big. So every world I have talked about here, every niche, every aspect, by the time you get into it, you find out that, oh, wow, there's a plethora of opportunities open to me here, right? There's also business and entrepreneurship. because I thank God that Nigeria is a capitalist country. So you know that every business person is trying to register their company, register their business name, trying to know what laws govern them. You can open your own legal consultancy firm where people just come to you for consultations on what to do and what not to do, right? You can always start your own business in law, in compliance, or in any related sectors. So I think that's a summary. And I hope that we've been able to get a lot from the little I have said, because we could
Yes.
actually talk about this
To be
for a
honest,
long
it
time.
felt like a
Because, like they
class
said,
on its own. Yeah,
yeah,
it was a lot.
for
It felt
every
like an
sector,
independent
law have to
masterclass.
govern human beings.
Yeah. But
So,
there's an
okay.
issue I want to bring up in terms of ADR and dispute, right? So in all the
Okay.
organizations that you've mentioned, the thing is that disputes are inevitable. So for instance, in sports, imagine if somebody lied about his age, maybe faked their papers and then traveled to another country, got signed, and then they find out that he faked his papers and he's already signed, and the that particular should I say training session or the league has already started. What, I don't even know the correct terminology, but basically they've already started matches and the rest, and this person has faked their papers. Now their team can get cancelled or withdrawn or something like that. So that's an example of the kind of disputes that we can face in situations where blood is rising, heat, everybody is like very upset and the rest. What kind of what should I say, the knowledge of dispute resolution, how important is it here? How do you use it? And because if most people argue that this is where litigation comes in, because it's more binding, it feels better from the perspective of client to say I'm suing you, as opposed to saying I'm going to negotiate with you. So how do you marry that,
I think
especially in real
I
world
usually,
situations?
I think people are very easy to say, let's go to court, until a lawyer tells them what going to court actually entails. And I would always tell people that I'm a very funny lawyer because I would do everything for you not to end up in court. Legal, I a lot of us here are lawyers, so I don't think I would be saying anything new when I tell you that litigation can overnight turn into a long process and an expensive process. You could be there for years. When one of the briefs I handled while I was in a law firm back then, when they put it on my table, I had to trace it from the beginning. And that court case started when I was in primary school. It was in court since then. I did primary school, secondary school, law school, university, law school, graduated, and I came to hold the brief. And I was like, why? We don't have, the Nigerian legal system is still developing, right? We don't have enough courts. We have a lot of lawyers, but we don't have enough courts. So litigation can easily become very grueling. So I'd be like, avoid it if you can, right? Now, being on the inside as a legal manager, before we go anywhere, and you also want to preserve relationships, be they business relationships, family relationships, the first point will always be negotiation. And this is where contract drafting comes in. Almost in every sector I've mentioned here, you would have to appraise yourself with knowing how to handle contracts, how to draft them, how to read them. There must also always be in a dispute resolution clause, and I would always advise for those clauses to start with negotiations. You always want to sit down and talk, first of all, because a lot of times a lot of things that you think are happening can be solved by talking, right? Just talk about it. You guys should talk. And if it gets out of hand, you'll find out that right now a lot of contracts, a lot of lawyers are drafting contracts that whereby litigation is the absolute last option. Before they get there, they would have explored ADR mechanism, arbitration. Now people are going for mediation a lot more than arbitration. But I would always advise to start with negotiation. When you are in that kind of, maybe in that kind of sports situation where you find out that the person has lied about their age, you don't want to start litigating about the matter, because the club that has made that deal, the person that made lied, you guys could be there for the next 5-10 years. In fact, any business person knows that they don't want to waste money investing in such. So it will be easier to advise that you go for a quicker dispute resolution mechanism that can shut that case very fast. If negotiation doesn't work, maybe in that kind of case, it might be too complex for a simple negotiation to actually say negotiation can work anywhere, because you can find a middle ground. You lied about your age, we spent money on you. How much money are you willing to give us back for us to not tell the world that you are a liar, or to just let you go without putting you in prison? Because basically, if you lied about your age, you are already fraudulent. So that's where negotiation comes in. What are you ready to do? What are we ready to do? How do we meet in the middle? If we can't, let's take it to mediation. Let's take it to arbitration. Let's talk about that. And
what about criminal issues?
Legally binding. You said?
What about
yes,
criminal
that's the
issues?
problem. Not criminal issues are way more complex, because a lot of them involve risk to human life.
Yes,
if somebody kills
fraud, for
kills
instance,
you, or somebody you're close to, you don't really want to be negotiating about it.
Yes, so especially like fraud. Fraud is the criminal matter. So what I'm saying now is that from perspective of the clients, and also from perspective of the lawyers that are involved in such situations, right? When you are approached, but when you're in a position to handle a particular criminal issue, how do you go about it? Especially if you don't, let's say you had disregarded what's it called, litigation all your practice life. How do you address that? Or is this where collaboration comes in?
Yes,
how do you handle that thing?
You took me to a point that I was going to talk about. In Nigeria, we have a very jack of all trades, master of none take approach to law. Do you get? Whereby you have to know everything. You simply can't. That's just the truth. And in your legal career, one of the things that I like law about is that in problem solving, it teaches us to learn. It means that in university, they used to tell us every single time that you should be able to find the answer to the problem, right? Meaning that you are consistently learning. New things come at you, you're consistently learning. So you don't have to know everything. And if you decide to toe a part of litigation, especially in Nigeria, where our legal the legal space is still developing, you want to leverage on networking a lot. You want to network as much as you can. Do you understand? So for me, like in my company now, they know that I'm not going to do litigation. So if we get to the point where a matter is looking like we're going to litigate it, we outsource to a firm that does litigation. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's where you have to know a lawyer that knows how to do litigation. You have to know a lawyer that knows how to do some registration with some regulatory body that you don't know, because what if your client needs it? And don't be afraid to tell your clients that, okay, yes, this is something that is not my expertise, but I'm going to bring in another person who is going to get the job done. If you have that, should I say, very selfish or even greedy approach towards your career, you might not make it very far, whereby I have to be the only one. I cannot give another person to help. Learn to network. It will really, really help you. Today, as a lawyer, I'm still networking. I'm still calling on lawyers to help me. Okay, I don't know this process. Have you done it before? Yes, they've done it before. Or I don't know this process. I don't have time to handle it. Please, can you take this client off my hands? The truth is that most likely it's going to come back at you. Do you understand? Somebody somewhere is going to refer you to one day. So learn to work with other people in other fields. And because it is law, a lot of things will marry themselves. If you're working as a tech lawyer, you might find out that you will wake up and EFCC is chasing you people, and you need to go and find out regulation in that sector, but you don't know. But you might know a lawyer that knows about the regulation in that sector. Do you understand? You might find out that you need something somewhere that somebody else knows. So networking is very, very important as a lawyer. Because of how big the field is, you're going to have to call in professionals a lot in your career. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, in fact, it actually brings me to another very important question that some of us raised when we're registering, and it's the issue of the niche. So you've mentioned the importance of, or rather, you've mentioned the fact that there are many companies, many lawyers, many law firms that have niche areas. Like you mentioned, Vazi Legal and how their niche is tech. You've also mentioned how many other lawyers have like specific niches. I want to bring up this issue of you mentioned networking as well. So I want to understand like
Mhm.
how important is it to be among lawyers that all have different niches? Since you've mentioned that okay, it's good to know a lawyer that can do different kinds of things. Like you need to know a lawyer that understands EFCC processes. You need to know a lawyer that understands criminal law. You need to know a lawyer that probably understands marine law, sports law, different things depending on the needs of your clients. So I want to talk about how can you even create that network in the first place? Because not many lawyers are niche down. How do you find other lawyers that actually also have a niche? And how do you identify your own as well?
Okay. So in finding lawyers that have a niche, you just need to, I would advise, there's no one way to do it, right? N- The answer is still that networking. You can, like the way you saw this opportunity, right, to be in part of this webinar, there are opportunities like that scattered abroad, right? And you can join those opportunities, those networking opportunities, put yourself in spaces where lawyers are. From university, I can't um count how many times Sike has mentioned we have this person that we went to school with that is working in this place, that is working in that place. So, it might just start out as friendship, or just, sometimes it's not friendship, just build many acquaintances around, right? And you'll be surprised that you find a lot of lawyers that are into things that you want to be into. Second of all, research the fields that you like, right? One way to research is to go to companies. This I learned from a friend. Go on LinkedIn, go to a company that you are interested in the field that you're interested in. Say, for instance, you go to, I work with Synlab Nigeria, go to Synlab Nigeria. You will see list of their employees. Search in Synlab Nigeria, legal, lawyer. It will bring up all the lawyers, right? And then you can actually start building connections with those lawyers. Then you find out, okay, these lawyers, they work in this place. Are they part of any other bodies, do you get, that I can register with? Do they follow any bodies that have events that I can attend? Can I send them a private
Oh,
message and connect with them? I hope this is like making sense. There was a time
yeah,
that I got my company had to do a contract with a very popular company in Nigeria. So the contract came to my table, my desk, of course, and reading the contract. That is one of the best written contracts I have read in my entire career. I was stunned. I was impressed. I was enjoying it. I was like, oh my God, this is professionalism at its peak. The minute I was done reading, I don't even know if I made it to the end before I was on LinkedIn typing in the name of the company. I went to look at their entire legal team. Do you get? Who are they? Where have they worked before? Where did they go to school? What other courses did they read? Do you understand? That's how
yeah,
you can find people. Search them down. If you see somebody and from one person, find out who is in their network of spaces. And you don't actually need to, some of us, we want to meet a person in person, face to face, before we feel like we could have the wealth of their knowledge. Not really. I mentioned how Basilica and Mo, I've never met her. I've never even private messaged her on what they call it, any platform whatsoever. But I follow her legal career. You can follow people. If they write articles, read those articles. If they have
yeah,
books, buy those books. If they organize webinars, attend the webinar. Do you understand? And this begins to open you up to opportunities, right?
yes,
Where I work currently, I applied for a job at Vazi Legal, interestingly. And guess what, guys? I did not make it in. But one thing I really loved about what they did was that after my interview, they sent me an email, right? Detailing like what their experience with me was, what I did very well, and places that they want me to work on, and gave me the opportunity to apply again. I am very, very sure that the points that they raised in that email that they sent me helped me get the job that I am working at right now. Do you get? Because I was able to identify, like, oh my God, okay, this, let me work on that. Do you get? The point is, you never really know where you're going to get an opportunity from, or something that makes you better from. But you need to put yourself in networking spaces. About finding your own niche yourself, right? The first thing is to ask yourself, like, who am I in this law? You don't, I would say, in a way, it can be tricky, but get to know yourself. What are the things you like? From university, one of my best course was health law till today. Enjoyed it down. So I already know that I like health law and the kind of cases that come up in that sector, right? But also ask yourself, what are the things in law that interest you? Like, at the beginning I said this, do you like writing? Do you enjoy the research aspect of law? Do you like public speaking, right? Do you like to teach other people about the law? Are you passionate about the less privileged? Are you passionate about a particular what they call it, rights of people, women's rights, children's rights, men's rights, animal rights? Are you passionate about plants' rights? That's already telling you where you want to go. Does it disturb you every single time when that's what they call it, whenever they take lights in Nigeria? You might want to check out the the power sector in Nigeria. They need lawyers there. Do you like humanitarian work? You might want to check out an NGO or two. Do you like to teach? Have you considered lecturing? Do you understand? So you can, and then another way to find a niche is to ask yourself, where do I see myself in life? One thing that at the beginning of this I told you people was that I had a dream. I had a dream to be a lawyer that had a flexible enough career that was not associated with a courtroom. That already told me litigation was out of the picture. Anything that jam courtroom was out of the picture. Okay, I need to find myself in a sector that is still helping me, because there are sectors where you're not doing litigation, but you have to be in the office 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And there are lawyers, I'm still partly in office, but there are lawyers that work completely remotely. That can actually influence your niche. Do you understand? And then, like I said, once you find out things that you like, start to build around it. Lastly, I would like to say, like, don't box yourself up. A lot of us are young lawyers. I know that I have not reached my last bus stop in my legal career. There's still so much in front of me that I'm going towards. I might still morph and change. So, because, law is very diverse, but at the end of the day, it's still law. It means that you can move from one side of law to the next, to the next, to the next. Do you get? Career changes are not easy, but they are always possible. So you could actually start your career with corporate commercial law, and in a couple of years, you find yourself working for EFCC, right? So as the more you go, my career path, when I left university, I had so many questions from people. What's your career path? Where are you going? I did not know. But the truth is, years down the line now, I have a clearer vision of where I'm going. So the vision is going to get clearer. Do you get? So don't sit idle waiting for this epiphany for you to know exactly what you want. You might not know now. Chook your leg inside somewhere. The fact that you've tested it alone might show you that, oh, I like this. I want to build here. Or, no, I don't like this. I need to change and go somewhere else. Open your mind. It's a world of possibilities. And open your mind to that, because once your mind is open to the fact that there are possibilities around you, you begin to work with that mindset, and you'd be surprised what you can do. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes, indeed. In fact, you actually even went like the extra mile to answer the question in the comment section. Thank you so much. So I guess this brings us to the issue of ethics. This is the last issue we talk about before we will move on to the question and answer segment. So how do you practice law ethically in Nigeria?
Okay,
Sorry, I also want to add an extra nuance. Considering the
Okay.
fact that a lot of clients these days will probably be international clients, and even our domestic clients will have international transactions, how do you ensure that your ethical practices are not breaching another country's ethics? So, like, what happens if there's a conflict of, should I say, ethical priorities or moral priorities in different countries? How do you approach that?
Oh, okay. So the truth is that while there may be differences, largely across professionals like scapes worldwide, there are certain things that are basic, right? There are certain governing laws that are basic. Even in the legal world, there are certain things that are very common to all legal spheres. And those things set the tone. If you usually get the basics right, you can easily adapt to whatever comes, like what you come across in your line of work. For instance, if you've completed law school, you would be familiar with the rules of professional conduct. If you've not completed law school, then hopefully you get there, right? So the things inside the rules of professional conduct, they marry a lot of for a lot of legal dispensations across the world. They are the same. Do you get? You must uphold the law. You must promote justice. As a lawyer, don't go about getting in trouble. Don't do things that you are not supposed to be doing. Don't solicit for clients. Don't act in your client's best interest. These are basic ethical things that as a lawyer you should know. Dress properly, present yourself well. Let me pause here and divert, so to speak. This is going to help you in your legal career. I just remembered I was having a conversation with a colleague, not a lawyer, but this cuts across whether you're a lawyer and you're not a lawyer, but it cuts across all these things. When I say present well, there is something called perceived value, right? And it's very big. Let me explain perceived value. We joke about it on social media, maybe in person. If you go to a salon to make your hair, or as a man, you go to a salon to cut your hair, and they, welcome you in, they sit you down in a plush chair and they offer you a glass of champagne, your brain should already be telling you that you're about to spend a world of money. I always say that if I enter a restaurant in Lagos and I ask for the menu and they tell me, "Ma, please scan the barcode," I just know that I'm finished. Between then and month end, I'll be crying. Do you understand? So what I'm trying to explain is perceived value. Just by them doing those things, I perceive that this is a rich institution that expects rich money, or expects me to pay a lot of money, right? Or sometimes you just walk into a place and the ambience alone tells you like, oh, this place is good. Do you get? They probably have great services because they present very well. This thing, it works a lot when it comes to your career. How you carry yourself, how you present yourself, and present yourself, I mean how you look, how you speak. Dress well as a lawyer. Wear nice clothes. Make sure you are properly dressed. Make sure you speak well. Work on your presentation, how you present yourself. Because if you are, let's say, a businessman and you want people to invest in your business, you are looking for somebody to invest 50 million naira in your business, and they tell you, come to my office by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's talk. And then you reach the office and you come down from Keke. Let me tell you the truth. You're likely not going to get the deal. It's not anything. They're just going to perceive you as somebody who has never handled 1 million naira in your life. Why should they give you 50 million? But if you came there and you came down from a car in a good suit, you are looking dapper. Even if you've never touched 50K, in their mind, they're like, this one can handle it too. This one can, he looks like he knows what he's talking about. So work on your perceived value, right? So back to where we're coming from. Ethically, as a lawyer, you should actually present well. If I've seen them insult somebody in court, the judge insulted the person because his wig was looking like a bird's nest. So these things are important. You should learn to maintain confidentiality. As a lawyer, people would come to you informally and formally with a lot of very critical things. They would expose parts of their lives to you that they otherwise will not expose. There's this adage that says that there are three people you shouldn't lie to in this world: your pastor, or your spiritual head, your doctor, and your lawyer. So as a lawyer, you hold a very key role in the lives of your clients. They're going to be telling you things that they don't tell other people. You would be exposed to their finances. People don't talk about their finances with a lot of people. You might be exposed to their marital problems. You will be exposed to deals that they are making in private. Their family member does not know that they are investing their money in this. As their lawyer, you have to make sure that that confidentiality is upheld. Avoid conflicts of interest. As a lawyer, you should know this, right? You cannot what they call it, go and enter a case that you already have personal interest in. You might not do it with your straight mind. As a lawyer also, it makes sense that you should charge reasonable fee. Don't say because the client is paying me in dollars, I will become a mad person. Don't become a mad person. Right? You should uphold your professional integrity. Law is prestigious because it is prestigious. There's something that has gone into making it prestigious. Don't be the person that disgraces us. Do you understand? In all you do it well. Do you get? Don't overly advertise or have unethical client solicitation where you are going under the table to get a client, or you're stealing somebody else's client, or these are common ethical things that you should know not to do, right? So it will help you to maintain competence and be continuously learning. You can never grow beyond learning. So for the question of what if you find yourself in legal spaces that you're not used to and they have different ethical rules, that's where you need to learn. Do you get? If you know that you are now going to be maybe the parties on the other side of a deal you're facilitating, or the company on the other side that you're working in is from Germany, is from Finland, go and read on that country's laws. Appraise yourself before you get into the matter. What is expected of you? What should you know? What shouldn't you know? Before you get in there, read. That's why you're consistently learning. Always appraise yourself of it. It's not very hard. And this is where you remember at some point I said one option that is open to us is legal research. Somebody that needs to know about the laws of another country would appreciate you if you were a legal researcher who has published papers summarizing, things in the legal climb of another country that somebody new needs to know, right? So the last thing is or to avoid corrupt practices and professional misconduct. If you have appraised yourself with the laws of a different land, then you should be able to know what they would consider as a corrupt practice, what they would consider as professional misconduct. You already know. There's certain things you should not do. Don't collect bribe. Do not collect bribe. Don't get involved with your clients beyond professional means. Don't go and do what you should not be doing. Once you have that at the back of your mind, I feel like ethically you would not struggle. So I hope that has been able to help in answering the question somewhat.
Yes, you did very, very, very beautifully. I would like us to say thank you to our speaker. Now, in the chat room, we have links to be able to follow her on LinkedIn, to be able to connect with her. Her name is Patsy Mokungah on LinkedIn. I want you guys to say thank you. Express yourself in the chat. Let her read it. It's really important. And I just want to point out the fact that we're actually out of time, but because we didn't start very early, we're going to officially conclude at 6:50 p.m. And so we're going to open the floor now for questions. Any questions that you have, our speaker is still here. She is available to answer. So please ask your questions. Okay, Sike.
Thank you very much, Patsy, for really going in and shedding so much light. This is more a contribution because someone asked the question. Patsy already answered the question so beautifully, about not really knowing what your interests are. And I think I said it, Patsy said it, and I'm sure, unfortunately, Tem didn't really get to tell us her story on this call. But if she did, you would realize that for a lot of us, it was not clear in the beginning. So extend grace to yourself, right? You're still young, you're still figuring out your journey. I remember someone met me last year and she said, that I really have it all together. I said, I'm just now. I said, I'm just figuring it out. I mean, yes, I'm grateful that it presents that way and people see it that way. But really, we're all on a journey, discovering what our passions are. And Patsy said something very important as well. She said, like, your interests could change. And that's the beauty of law. You know, other courses don't have that. Like, if you love medicine, you love medicine. You can't wake up and say, you know, like, because it's so strict in that way. Yes, law has its own strictness, but it's only in the sense that it is law. You can pick any industry to get into, and whatever skills you have gotten from one industry is most likely transferable to another. Like, I was a lecturer and now I am working as a legal officer in a hospital. It's fine. It's all law, you know. You shouldn't feel trapped or like you didn't understand, like you need to have it all figured out, especially when you're an undergraduate. Especially when you're an undergraduate. And one thing I wanted to also say is that you must not practice law. I feel like people don't say that enough, right?
Mhm.
Yes, this webinar is about law outside the courtroom. And so we are focusing on practicing law outside litigation. But if you look at it and you look at it and you look at it, and you can't find anywhere that you see yourself pursuing a law career in, that's fine. The beautiful thing Patsy pointed out is the skills that we get as a result of our legal training. She didn't say the skills you get as a result of being a lawyer. Is legal training. These things happen in your undergraduate, or should be happening in your undergraduate. If they are not happening, you need to start asking yourself, what can I be doing better? Because I know we have a good number of undergraduates on this call. It should be happening in your undergraduate. You should be doing public speaking. You should be communicating better. I know some people don't have the privilege of maybe the kind of background that we had in primary or secondary school, but you can grow. You know, you can build yourself up, and improve your vocabulary, improve the way you speak, the way you pronounce things. Thank God for the internet. You know, our parents didn't really have these things back in the day, and but we have. I know somebody who every day she takes out 10 minutes to watch a YouTube video on how she can speak better. It's not, it's not rocket science. Some of us, yes, were born as, natural orators. I wouldn't even count myself as one of, I talk a lot, but I don't really consider myself an orator, so to speak. But these people, they train. IB Quick, one of the really trending spoken word people in Nigeria right now. I'm sure she didn't just wake up and just knew how to talk the way she talks. They train themselves. So if you ever feel like, okay, I'm lagging behind here or there, you can build yourself up. So Patsy pointed out those beautiful skills. Let me go back to that slide so that people can really look at it, and really absorb it a bit better. These are skills that you can apply in every career. As a business person, like I pointed out in the chat box, a lot of American presidents are lawyers. Like I remember thinking that it was so cool because we carry all these things, and we apply it in politics. We carry, when you see somebody really doing well in a career outside of law, if you look well, the person has legal background.
Yes.
There is
For
some
example,
that
the entertainment industry.
Oh my God.
The entertainment
Even in
industry.
the business industry. Even in the business industry, a lot of lawyers pivot into the business and finance industry. I was going to say that if you know how many lawyers have pivoted, they are straight out of being a lawyer, they get an MBA and completely pivot, and they become very top people in finance.
Yes.
By the time you are researching back, and because of this, a lot of people who even get first-class degrees go back to school to study law. I don't think it is about the law. It's about these transferable skills. There are so many skills you get just by being a lawyer. You come out of school, you have them, and trust me, other courses don't do this. Not many courses give as many skills as law gives you.
Can I say, right, we're in the world of like skit makers. I remember one of the first few times I watched Lai Wasabi skit. I said there's something different here. This guy is doing something differently.
No,
And when I
I think it's mentioned up to 3 that are lawyers.
do you understand? The moment that I found out that he was studying law, I was like, that's why. That's why there's something, there is something there. You cannot take it away. So I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, I'm wasting my time. What will I do? There is something, and there is a prestige, whether we like it or not, that being a lawyer comes with in any world, in any country. You don't need to say I'm a Nigerian lawyer. I was abroad a few months ago in a group of PhD students. And I said, I'm a lawyer. And they were all so fascinated. Like, oh, that's really nice. And I'm like, I don't even know how much you people know, but just the moment you say you're a lawyer, anyway, there is something about it. You can hold your head up high, even if you don't know what you're talking about. Just say it. You know, I'm just being honest, because I think it's so important for people to hear that, for people to know that you know, there are so many ways to apply your law degree, but even if you choose not to practice law at all, like I said, my dad has been called to bar for over 30 years. He has not entered a courtroom with a wig and gown, at least in the last 20, maybe 22 to 23 years. But he has a career thriving in public service, but he still carries barrister in his name. You cannot take it away from him. It is who he is. And it's really, I think it's one of the best degrees to get. Maybe because I'm biased, maybe it's because I'm a lawyer already. I might be biased in that way, but really it applies in every field, and that's the beauty of law. Truly, that is the beauty of it. So I really hope that we have some questions in the chat box. Oh, it's just people saying thank you.
Yeah, okay. But I think I will mention like a few. Our time is actually almost up, but I'll try to be as fast as possible.
Future plans as well, so you can round up.
Yes, so I'll try to be as fast as possible. So I noticed that some of us, in the forms that we fill, some of us mentioned the fact that would like to know how to make money from the entertainment industry, from the beauty industry, and many others. What I would just say is that the most important thing that we can do is to explore as much as possible. So I'll just give a very big, very tiny summary of my own story. The fact that I've worked as an editor, a book editor. I've worked as a game story developer. I have worked as a photographer's manager. That was even in uni. I've worked as a writer for a cooking blog. I have worked as a talent manager, an artist talent manager. I've done so many things. And those things, to an extent, helped me to practice law better, because it gave me perspective on the kind of people that will come to meet me for legal services. So one thing I'll say is, whatever industry you want to succeed in, it's good to actually take an extra job, volunteer somewhere, try to understand how it is from the background, from the back end, and you go very, very far. And with everything that we've discussed today, I want us to have in the back of our mind that this meeting is recorded, and we're going to upload the recorded version of the meeting, but we'll make sure we send the link to everybody. And everybody on this call right now has the opportunity to join Tamarix Law's mentorship group. So you can opt in or you can opt out, but basically all of you filled your information. We'll add you all to the group. If you would like not to be a part of it, you can always leave. But yes, that's a good opportunity. And some of the things that you're going to be getting from the group is that, for instance, this webinar, you're going to be getting first-hand information on anything that we're going to be planning. You're also going to have direct links to the recorded version so that you can go back and rewatch. And you can also get direct access to us to ask as many questions as possible, because I know that this particular meeting did not even scratch the surface. The things we wanted to talk about, you will notice that our speaker didn't even get to mention every single element in her slides. And even the opportunity to even get access to her slides, you only get the opportunity if you join and you're active in the mentorship group. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a follow-up email. So everybody, please check your emails. It's very important. If you're going to be practicing law, not checking your emails is not an option, right? So please check your emails. You're going to get an email from us with as much information as possible. And this brings me back that Tamarix Law, which is the host of this particular event, is a law firm. We're a health and entertainment law firm. We are going to be turning one on Wednesday, the 2nd of April 2025. We're going to be 1 year old. If you would like to celebrate with us, you can follow us on social media at tamarix.law. Okay, someone just asked a quick question. As a lawyer, can you work as a counsel and a manager of your clients at the same time? It's no. So it's not advisable. You shouldn't be a manager and counsel. So you have to pick one, actually. So it's either you are the lawyer or you're the manager. And if you are the manager, I would actually advise to stay away from legal advice, because as a manager, you're actually trying to understand the business aspect. So try not to carry too many balls at the same time, because you may break both of them. So just, if you're going to be a manager, be a good manager. And then over time, you can always transition. But it's good for the client's sake to have two separate people handling those two things. Thank you very much for the congratulations. So we're going to be celebrating 1 year. We would like you to follow us on social media. We are at tamarix.law. On Instagram, we are Tamarix Law. On YouTube, we are also Tamarix_law on Twitter, and you can find us on LinkedIn as well. So any questions you have, reach out, send DMs, especially as fellow lawyers or law students. You guys will actually have priority when it comes to getting access to us. So we're very keen in answering your questions and indulging you. So please reach out. And with this, I would like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I would like to see your engagement on our social media. Any extra questions that you had that you were not able to ask on this meeting, please post it on our social media. We will answer it. We will attend to every single one of them. So thank you, everyone. Please unmute your mic. Say thank you to our speaker. Thank you to our host. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our speakers, and then
Thank you so much.
to the hosts.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate the
Thank
session.
you very much
You
to our
guys.
speaker.
Thank you. Please, and when we send you the link to rewatch, please share it to as many people as possible so we can get the word out. And remember, like I said, this is a quarterly webinar. So in the next 3 months, you're going to see us again. We're going to have another speaker who is going to be speaking from a different industry. And the beautiful thing is that you still have access to this particular speaker by following her on LinkedIn. Sike?
Yes, I wanted to mention that if you have registered, you registered and you're here, you don't need to register for our future webinars. We already have your information. We will send you an email. But the beauty, like Tem said, we have an online community and we're going to be building a mentorship group as well. Those are two different things. You will be getting an email with further details. We will share with you directly when we are having new programs. So you don't need to register every quarter. So what you need to do is to tell your friends who have never registered to register. So they will always get our emails, they will always get the information directly to their emails. And then if they join our mentorship group or our community on WhatsApp, then they can get even more information. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Patsy. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a beautiful Saturday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank
Good
you
night.
so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Good night, everybody.
Good night.